Should I ask the tough question about who's not in the room today? Because of course, one of the big questions has been asked. It's a valid question. I think Ambassador Ehrenkrona is here, so maybe I should ask you this. That Sweden is seen as one of the countries that spoke so much about internet freedom, yet when we see an issue like the Snowden issue, there is that big question about why none of the journalists who even covered the Snowden issue are here today with us here in Stockholm. You see, you need to ask the question, so I'm hoping more of you are going to come up with some.
Thank you, moderator. I think actually that you gave a hint on the motives when you said that we are looking for solutions of the concerns. And when we started the Stockholm Internet Forum 3 years ago, we had two criteria for the invitations. One was that we should have 50% from the low and middle income countries, developing countries, and 50% from developed countries. And that goal is now reached, so we are exactly 50-50 this year. The second criteria we had that was that we should strive for gender balance. And here I must admit that we have not been entirely successful. We are well above 40 plus, but we have not reached the 50% goal. We also try to renew the list of participants every year. We have about 1,500 nominations for taking part in the Stockholm Internet Forum. We can host 450, and we try to renew this list. So of those who were present 3 years ago, 9 out of 10 are not present today, and there are only about 1/10 that has been invited for 3 years. And of course that is one important aspect of our criteria. We want more people to be involved and more voices to be heard on these particular issues. With regard to the agenda, we have seen it as important to not to look into the whistleblowing process as such or to the revelations as such. What we believe we should do is to discuss how can we find solutions in order to protect human rights in an environment where surveillance is a reality. And I fully agree with what was said. There is no technical solutions, there are only political solutions. And this has been the focus for the Swedish government the last year, actually. We have had numerous dialogues with civil society on how to apply rule of law online as it is applied offline. And this is actually the main topic of the agenda of the Stockholm Internet Forum this year. And you who are invited are supposed to have a number of good ideas and good points on how to apply the rule of law online as it is implied offline.
Let me just take a few more questions and then we'll get a lot of answers. We've got 2 ladies there and there's one question here as well.
Hi, I'm Eva Blum Dumonte. My question is for Mrs. Hatt about the checks and balance that you've mentioned to keep surveillance accountable. But first of all, the one thing I wanted to say is that as a woman, I take issue in having white males explaining me that the reason why Glenn Greenwald, Jake Applebaum, and Snowden via video conference haven't been invited is gender equality. So actually, the question I wanted to ask is a question that I know Jacob wanted to ask here. Do you really think that the checks and balance you've been put in place are a justification of the interception and storings of millions of individuals? Thanks.
All right, and the lady here had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, yes, it's on. Okay. My name is Jane Duncan from Rhodes University in Grahamstown, South Africa. Just an observation about the explanation that's been given to us about the non-invitation of Edward Snowden, Glenn Greenwald and others. I really feel that the explanation that's been given to us is weak. Edward Snowden is, quite simply the single biggest story that has happened around communication surveillance in the past year. And I think it's completely inappropriate not to have the key protagonist in this particular issue on the panel, even if it was by video link. I don't think that Snowden and others would have upset the geographic and gender balance of the program to the extent that's being made out. I think we've got over 450 participants here from around the world, and 2 more white males I don't think would have made that much of a difference. And coming from the global south, coming from South Africa, I'm sure that all of us who come from the global south too don't want to feel that we're being used in order to justify what is an inappropriate decision. But I think the geographic and gender balance issues aside, I think we also have to acknowledge that the problem of surveillance often comes from the global north. The technology and the practices that are being used in many of our countries are developed by northern countries. So for instance, in South Africa, we've learnt from WikiLeaks, from the documents that have been released by WikiLeaks, that at least 2 South African companies have been manufacturing mass surveillance technology that has been found in the listening rooms in countries like Egypt and Tunisia. So it's absolutely apposite in a global conference for us to have the key protagonists who have exposed these kinds of abuses speaking to us so that we can have an interaction, because we too would learn from that interaction. It would give us the informational tools that are necessary to deal with this problem that has diffused from the global north to the south.